All right, we're now joined by the GM of the Edmonton Oilers, Ken Holland. Ken, thanks for doing this today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, nice to be with you.
All right, first off, and most importantly for Oiler fans, Connor McDavid. How is he doing? Any worry about his health ahead of the regular season? Where do we stand there?
Well, I think he's doing great. I know he's chopping at the bit to get into games. I mean, the final say is going to come up to the doctors, but we're very optimistic here as we head down to the last 2 weeks of preseason that he'll be ready to go either on opening night or very, very shortly thereafter. Nothing to worry about. He's doing great. He's being rehabbed all summer. We're being very, very conservative for obvious reasons. He's a great, great young player and the face of this franchise, so no need to rush him into preseason games.
Understood. When you took over this team, you obviously had your own assessment of what needed to change to make this team better. Do you think that you accomplished some of those changes with the offseason you just had?
Well, obviously, time will tell here once we play games. I think, first off, I'm big on stability, and I was obviously the manager in Detroit for 22 years. I had 4 coaches in 22 years, so there's been obviously the ownership here. Mr. Cates has wanted to put a team on the ice that's a competitive team, and there's been some change. I'm hoping that I can come in here and provide some stability. I hired a coach that's been behind the bench for, I think, 1,200 games. I'm hoping that Dave Tippett can provide stability in the locker room, and we can start there. We went out and we signed some players for the bottom part of the roster, trying to add some dimensions of speed and penalty killing. And so far in the early going here in preseason, 2 games in, we're happy with what we've seen, but there's a long way to go and lots to happen.
One of the players you brought in this offseason was James Neal. What exactly does he bring to the table for you guys?
Well, you get back to that resume, if you look in the guide and record book, he says he scores 20 goals a year. I think he did it 10 consecutive years, and he had a tough year last year in Calgary. So we're hoping that he finds his scoring touch. Part of that's going to be ice time and opportunity. Certainly, Calgary was a deep hockey team, and he didn't get the minutes that he had other, previous years. And we're not quite as deep up front, so he's going to get tremendous opportunity here. He's come into camp in fabulous shape. I know he went to Gary Roberts' camp in north of Toronto all summer. His body fat is in single digits. I know he's excited and motivated, and he's been very, very good. I think his spirits are great, and again, you look at the resume. He's a guy that can score, and we've got to put him in situations to do what he does.
All right, goaltending has been an issue over the past few years in Edmonton. Are you confident in your tandem, and why does Mike Smith make sense for this team at this time?
Well, obviously Dave Tippett knows Mike Smith from his days. They were together in Arizona, I even think in Dallas. So certainly the head coach knows the work ethic, the commitment. He knows Mike Smith. Mike Smith's a competitive guy. He's motivated. Koskinen came over. It was his first year, and I think down the stretch he played like 20 or 21 in a row. When you come from playing in a European league, they don't play that much hockey, so I'm sure he learned a lot last year. And we're hoping that they're going to compete every day. Both have a tremendous work ethic. They're going to work hard. They're going to push one another, and we're hoping that the goaltending is going to be a strength for us.
Oiler fans have been excited about defenseman Devin Bouchard since he was drafted. Great prospect. Dave Tippett actually compared him to your former Red Wing Blue Liner Hall of Famer Larry Murphy. High praise. What do you see in Evan moving forward, and how has he looked in camp so far?
Well, I know Evan really well. When I was in Detroit, I was out scouting and watched Evan play a lot in his draft year, and then watched him last year after the Oilers had drafted him. Tremendous young defenseman. Very, very poised with the puck in a league where when you've got defensemen that can join the rush and make the passes to get you from defense to offense, he does that as well as any young defenseman out there. So, with all good young defensemen, the biggest question is how quickly can they learn to defend at the NHL level? Because you are going to spend 40-50% of the game in your own zone. And I think the early game here in the scrimmages, rookie games that we had with the Flames, and then we had a red-white. Those are back to my Detroit days. We had a blue-orange game here the other day, and he had 4 points, 2 goals and 2 assists, and has played real well the first 2 games in the NHL preseason. So he's making a statement. I believe young players need to force their way onto the roster, and certainly in the early going, he's pushing hard.
The Jesse Puljujarvi situation lingered all off-season. Is there any news on that front, and are you willing to just kind of leave it unresolved this season?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say to you, I want to make sure that the focus right now is on the people that are here and us putting a team together, and it's important that we get off to a good start and feel good of ourselves early in the season. I did have conversations with lots of teams over the course of the summer. Things have quieted down now. You get into training camp and everybody is doing the same thing probably we are here in Edmonton. They're worried about their own young players. They're worried about their own team. So I think once we get going here with the regular season, I'll probably get back on the phone lines. He's obviously playing in Finland, and I'm told he's off to a good start. So I'm glad he's playing, and he's ready to hit the ground running here. Obviously, we have until the end of November to make a decision.
Kenny, there's been a lot of talk about RFAs this offseason and a significant shift in how players negotiate coming off their entry levels. How hard is it to make the cap system work when younger stars are making more money earlier in their career than in the past?
Yeah.
And how happy are you to have both McDavid and Draisaitl locked up the way they are?
Well, first off, how I look at the cap is we all get the same amount of money to spend, and we can choose how we want to spend it, whether you want to do bridge deals with your young players or you want to lock them up long term. And I think both philosophies are good philosophies for both sides. It just depends on where your individual team is cap wise and where the player is at. So obviously you're seeing some RFAs signed long term, and you're seeing some bridge deals. Obviously I'm thrilled to come in here and know that Leon and Connor are locked up for a long time. They're obviously 2 young superstars, and they're locked up at great numbers, and I'm excited to now have to go to work and build around them.
Perfect, Ken. Great catching up with you. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk to you down the road, okay?
Thank you.